be in the domestic court, like your protection order, domestic violence, harassment court. That way I used to be a lot, and seeing couples fight.
A firm based in the UK, and it's a firm, they do remote work, and all they do is commercial law. They're a commercial law firm. That's all they do. All they do is drafting and negotiating agreements. And I was like, dear Lord, how did this happen? I got went through the interview process. During the interview process, they didn't ask me any law of contract questions. And the reason why that happened as well is because they could look at my CV and they can see that this person has studied extensively, and I'd kind of already cornered myself into commercial. So I didn't have to like convince them that, listen, I love contract, I love commercial law. They could look at my CV
and see that.
And I haven't worked in commercial a day in my life at that point, because this is my first job, fresh from articles. But they could look at my CV and see that she's telling the truth. I can back it up with my CV at the very least. So they took me in. And that's also why I always really tell people that you want to find out what you love as quickly as possible during your LLB, and corner yourself in that and throw yourself in entirely. Because by the time you're applying for your first job, it's your first job, you've got no experience to back it up.
Yes.
But your CV can back it up. You can at least show that I've done some things in this area to show that I love this.
And I will excel in it, because if you love it, you will excel.
Yes, you can believe me when I say I love this. Look at my CV. This is what I've done. So they'll take a chance on you. It's your first job. Entry level is hard. It's difficult to convince.
Now, at the UK, was it now that £6,000 to 18?
Ma'am, it went up by like 5-6 times 5-6.
So we must apply everywhere. We must not just look at South Africa.
No, apply widely. Apply widely. It's absolutely important. I didn't even, because at the time I was applying, like I was saying, I was applying like just LinkedIn at that point. You're just pressing everything. Yeah. I hadn't even thought about applying internationally. Actually, I hadn't thought about it, but clearly I did.
Yes, yeah. And then
and I'm like, whoa. And the experience is insane. It's insane.
You work from home when you're remotely.
Yes, you work remote. And with working remotely, you're drafting and negotiating agreements, but on an international level. I've got clients in Germany, clients in different jurisdictions, counterparty in different jurisdictions. So the job is to draft and negotiate agreements. So depending on what the governing law is, or depending on where the counterparty is, that's what we're doing. So you're hopping on a call with counterparty from France, and you're negotiating a term. And even in those spaces, it was so interesting. You find yourself being the only Black person on the call. You're with old people, and you're negotiating a term. So it's hopping on a call, and the air is a bit, they're looking at, I'm negotiating for my client who's a bank.
Yes.
A prominent bank. And it's kind of like, okay.
Who's this now?
Who's this one?
Who's
who's this one? And I'm here to negotiate on maybe like a non-solicitation or a non-circumvention clause, and we need to go head to head about it.
Oh,
and
it's a non-for-hair? What is that? What is that?
I'm sorry. I
no,
promise.
It's fine. We're gonna learn because now we're coming to the second part, or rather, we're coming to the part where we're gonna talk more now about you guys. We are still sitting with the beautiful, humble Ipeleng, okay, and we are still here where only Ganda Ganda will remove us. Saint Studios. I want this message to be heard. Only Ganda Ganda will remove us here. Not even the bank will remove us here. We are here to stay. Anyway, let us continue with the commercial attorney. Please tell us now. Commercial attorney is a very fancy word. You know, it sounds like 1 million invoices, like you invoice FNB 1 million to speak to you. You know. Please tell us. You told us that you worked, right? And you just told us before we begin that, you know what, I'm finalizing the trust accounts. So it means that now Ipeleng is going on to her own firm, right? What is the name of your firm?
So the firm is Kumwenda Attorneys, Inc. She's still in the making.
Yes.
Right now we're working on the website. So the trust accounts are approved. Well, trust account is approved. Working on the website and then preparing to launch in the next couple of weeks. Getting my ducks in a row with launching. But yeah, I worked in that commercial space with a firm, and I got an immense amount of experience, and I learned so much. And I found it to be a good time to get started with working on my own baby, because working at, I guess, honestly, in any field, it's hectic to put in, especially in the legal space, the hours that we put in. The hours don't end after you do your LLB. We work crazy hours, and it's a mentality. We don't sleep, we don't eat properly, we neglect our mental health because you're just drafting and you're working all the time. So it's really just, you're swapping out the textbook for an agreement. It doesn't change.
It's still hard work.
It's still hard work. The hours are long.
It's not, the court opens, I mean, like 9 to 4, I think. I thought that's what's happening.
So with us, so because I don't do ideally, I don't want to do litigation. I don't do litigation per se, but I know I'll have to. With what I was doing at the firm, we didn't do litigation at all. We weren't dealing with courts. So we were drafting agreements and negotiating, but obviously the agreements would be court ready. So if there's any dispute having to do with the agreement, those get handed over to other firms that do litigation, and then it goes to court. But we know that, like, ideally, I just want to sit here and draft and negotiate the agreement. Ideally, I don't want to be before a judge.
Can you give us an example of the kind of agreements that you draft? Because you're saying agreement, it sounds like anti-nuptial, out of community of property. Please, please.
I'm sorry.
Please.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be. You're speaking very nicely, hey? And you're doing very well, by the way. Okay? You're doing... No, man. That's how I was the first day. You're doing very well. We are learning from you, hey? This is going to be on the internet today and forever, and somebody's going to want to know, what is a commercial attorney? When you say you're drafting agreements, I want to ask, I want to know. You're saying you're negotiating for the bank. What? Can you give us an example?
Yes. So depending on what the bank wants to do, a lot of the time the banks were looking to maybe acquire or to invest. The majority of the thing that the banks were considering was investing. So it would be a counterparty. Counterparty just means the other side.
Yes.
So we call them counterparty, but maybe in litigation they're the opposing side.
Yes.
But in the commercial space, the other side is not...
We're not fighting.
We're not fighting. There's no beef. They're just counterparty. They're just the other side.
Yeah.
And we're all trying to do the same deal. We're all on the same side. But you're negotiating for your client. I'm negotiating for mine. In putting together this agreement on how we're going to go about the transaction, depending on what the transaction is. So maybe the agreement will be a non-disclosure agreement. Before we can get into the actual agreement, we need to sign an NDA. So I'll negotiate the NDA. I'll draft the NDA. Or they'll put together their NDA and send it over to us. And then I'll look at the terms. I'll review the terms. And then I'm reviewing the agreement. And then I'll do what's called a risk review for my client. And that's where I outline every single provision in this NDA or in this agreement that I find to be problematic in this risk review. So I'm going to say, listen, this risk review, this agreement has a non-solicitation. Non-solicit really means you guys can't approach any of their employees during the course of this transaction or having to do with this transaction. You can't hire the employees, you can't approach them, you can't speak to any of their employees.
Right.
Ideally, we don't want, clauses like a non-solicitation. We don't like restrictive clauses. We want to be able to do what we want to do. So when you see a restrictive clause like any clause that tells you can't do a particular thing.
You can't breathe around those areas.
Oh yeah, that one would be a no contact. Don't talk to our people. Only talk to these people. So you'll have a direct contact, which is you only speak to these people, and then you'll have a no contact, which is you can't speak to these people. There's a long list of restrictive clauses, and those are the ones you highlight to the clients. These are the list of do's and don'ts. And then with the restrictive clauses, you want to get them as small as possible. So the first thing I'll do is usually I want to throw it out entirely and say, listen, we don't want this. We don't want these restrictions. It's not relevant. It's not necessary, or it's not market standard, which is a word we use to manipulate sometimes. But if they push for it, so that's negotiation. If they say, nope, we want this in here, this is important to us, then I'm like, okay, cool. I tell my client, listen, they really want this in. My suggestion would be to limit it to 6 months, for it to apply for 6 months only, not for the duration of the whole transaction. That's where we negotiate. How long will this last? Ideally, I don't want this thing to last the whole duration of the contract. But that's negotiation. It goes back and forth. The agreement goes back and forth.
Until you come to a common ground.
So we come to a common ground, but sometimes that doesn't happen.
So when it doesn't happen now, the business doesn't go on.
Sometimes the deal will fall through. The client will decide, my client or the other side will decide that walking away. And usually that will happen with what we call an indemnity provision. An indemnity is an absolute no-no. It's the first thing any commercial attorney should look for in an agreement. You'll do like a skim read and you want to find out, does this agreement have an indemnity? That's the biggest no-no. Indemnity means if there's a breach, maybe not even a breach, but if this and this happens in the agreement, you agree to hold us harmless, which means your right of recourse is extremely limited. There's extremely limited things you can do if things go wrong. It leaves you with like very few things you can do for recourse or remedies if things go wrong. And ideally, you do not want to have to do that. You want that to be determined by the court. So if the court decides that, okay, cool, I've seen the breach, I've had a look at the breach, this is my decision. That's what we want. We want the court to decide. We don't want that to be put into the agreement.
Yeah.
We don't want to agree to it beforehand when we haven't even run into the issue yet.
And then you don't know at what level and what you're going to lose, how much you're going to lose.
Exactly. You don't want to take a gamble. So an indemnity is not market standard. So that's the first thing any competent commercial attorney will have to say, that, listen, I've taken this out, and with an indemnity, we don't even like pick and choose wording. You take it out entirely. I'm throwing this out entirely. It's not market standard.
Okay. So now I understand what I have a little bit of insight on what a commercial attorney does, because I thought maybe you just talk to a rent merchant and tell them, oh, you want to talk to me? It's 1 million per hour. That's it. So
it's contract. It's really
it's really you taking your magnifier, looking through the contract and making sure that your client benefits
and
as much as possible.
Every word matters. Every word matters.
I've had a work contract that is so big.
Those are the when I got into law of contracts and I realized the magnitude and how important contracts are. Contracts regulate everything we do. I imagine you sitting in this studio with the sponsor. There should be a contract.
Yeah,
governing
there
that.
is. There definitely is. There is. Whether it's verbal or there's always contract to do everything.
Regulates everything. Contract regulates everything. If you're going to the shopping mall and you're going to get some stuff, you're probably going to find those signs in the parking lot that you're parking at your own risk.
Yeah,
that's a contract.
Yeah, it's a contract.
That's a contract.
That is a contract.
The mall is telling you that if you get in here and they steal your car, that's not our problem. So if you park your car and you go into the mall, you've consented.
That thing must be scrapped. The mall is the mall is supposed to be safe, man.
It's not their problem. So that's an exclusion clause.
You're shopping at your own risk.
At your own risk. You're parking at your own risk. Shopping is this other thing. Now when you walk into the mall, there's going to be other signs. There's going to be other signs that you're going to walk past.
Admission
Exactly. And you consent to that when you walk in. You don't have to sign that. There's different kinds of contract. You walk in. When you go to the zoo and they tell you, look, there's usually an indemnity when you walk in. Those big fat ones where they tell you, like, if this and this happens, we don't, death, injury, theft, not our problem. You're consenting. When you walk through that board, you've consented.
Because I've read it and they put it up there for me to read.
Yeah.
Clearly. So I know that I understand that commercial business is actually business.
Yes.
Business. But can I bring my work contract to a commercial attorney to say, look through it?
Absolutely.
Can I bring that antenuptial from my sugar daddy? Because I know it will be saying, hey, I'll come out with my liver only. Can I come with it for you to see before I sign?
So an ANC is not commercial.
It's not.
No.
Okay.
An antenuptial is not commercial. Commercial it's business.
It's business
based. And a good way to look at it is that in commercial, I rarely work with like an individual. I'm working with a company, a corporation.
How are you going to get a company, darling, because I already had that they're gatekeeping, conveyancing. Hey, it's. I don't want to be racist.
No, it's true.
But they give their friends hey. They give woofer wood. You as a black conveyancer, forget about it. It's not
hard.
easy.
Yes.
So now, how are you gonna get the whole of iStore South Africa to come to you? How do you source such business?
So sourcing is one of the main challenges of starting out a firm. So again, just the first thing is, my dad. I go back to my dad.
Gosh.
My dad works as a consultant to mining companies. He used to be in the mining space, and then he came out, started his own thing, and now he works as a consultant. So my dad actually brought me in because
to the business.
Yeah. So whenever he's got deals that he's working on or whatever the case is, my dad has brought me in as his counsel. So I negotiate the agreements that him and his colleagues work on with different mining companies. So I've already started doing that even before the firm is launched, so that they were already my first clients by the time we get started. Because I want to stay in commercial ideally, but I can litigate. But I want to stay with just negotiating agreements because that's what I'm good at. That's my baby. So for me, what's getting my foot in the door is nepotism. It's the fact that my dad is in the space and I want to stay in the corporate space. I want to negotiate.
Ooh, shout out to your dad. Hey, you are hating us. Me and this other girl were deadless. Ooh, Hashem. As we had to do it, there's no connection. We're on our own.
There's so many things. But the thing is, you need connections. And the thing is, I know I'm bad at networking. So also the thing with the field is you need to know what you're good at and you need to know what you're bad at. I'm so bad at networking. I'm an introvert. I'm not good at it. If I go
do I need to network if I want to be a divorce attorney? Because definitely
divorce work is nice.
I want to do like family law. I also want to do definitely criminal law. I don't know, maybe my soul will die there, but I want to do it. And unfortunately, I'm going to be for them because that's going to be my bread and butter.
Yes.
I really want to do it. I really want to say, okay, no, this person is getting discharged because the wrongful arrest, that's what I want to do. I know maybe I need to be ungodly to do it, but I want to do it. And I also want to do that, that divorce that involves 7 kids and that's what I want to do.
To be honest, the divorce work and the criminal law, it's actually not ungodly. I also got the same thing because my first passion was divorce work. Not that I love divorce, but like
the job,
the processes,
the work.
Yes. It's not ungodly because these people have constitutional rights.
True.
A criminal who's done the most horrendous thing, I know that, I want to be on the outside, but normal people who are not in the legal space, they have that first instinctual, this person doesn't deserve representation, kill him, death penalty, he needs to come back, or he needs to go straight into jail, no trial. But we can't think the same way when we're in the space.
We can't.
This is a person where, you need to divorce your personal feelings. This is a client, and this is a person who has constitutional rights.
They do.
And your job is not, I know there's a perception that we get there and we lie, lawyers lie.
No, we don't.
We don't. You can't make up facts to present to the judge. You can't do that.
And most of the time with criminal cases, there's actually actual evidence.
There is.
How am I going to...
You can't manufacture evidence. You lose your job. It's literally unethical. We can't do that. So we don't get there and lie. It's about who can make the best argument with the relevant facts.
Yes.
You need to knit together an argument that makes sense with facts. You can't make up things. So, even with horrible criminals, some of the time you're not arguing that he didn't do it if he clearly did it.
Yeah.
You're arguing whether maybe he had... What was his mental capacity at the time? Was he aware? And was he able to act in accordance with the awareness? Did he know right from wrong?
Yeah.
And right from wrong? And could he act in accordance with that awareness?
Did he know the consequences of what was happening?
Exactly.
Was he in the right state of mind?
Exactly.
And what really happened?
And those are legal grounds. That's not your matter of opinion. Those are legal grounds. So you, in accordance with criminal law and criminal procedure, is how you argue. It's not your opinion.
Thank you for making me feel better. That's what I want to do, guys. Did you hear? I won't be a bad person.
No, and you wouldn't be lying if you defend someone who did something horrendous. You're not getting up there and lying. You're doing your job.
And they still get sentences.
They
just
get
lighter,
sentenced, exactly.
Just lighter, maybe, but they still get sentences.
The thing is, even at sentencing stage, it's your job to argue against the mitigating circumstances.
Yeah.
That's an argument you have to present.
Exactly. So that's what I want to do, my future clients. I want to do criminal. I want to do divorce, marriage and divorce, like family law. You know, I know it gets very messy. Divorce, assets, children, and I think when it comes to children, that's where most of law students or CAs, when they get out of their articles, they're just like, no, I'm not doing this. It gets very emotional when it comes to kids.
It does.
But I think when I get there, I would have divorced my emotions and do my job. So, where will your company be? Where will your firm? Which side are you opening it?
So because I'm starting out like fresh, where the firm is at the estate where I stay. That's
It's in your house.
Yes, quite literally. We've got a garage space that's going to be the office.
Please tell them they can start wherever. They don't have to start in an office.
No, you climb, because the thing is not just, you need to have financial planning, and that's really, and you speak to other people who open firms, and you need capital. You're not just running, it's not just law that you're doing, you're a business person as well.
Yeah, it's a business.
I need to learn entrepreneurship. I need to learn those principles. So you start at home. I don't have to pay rent to anyone else. I don't have rent expenses. I've got enough space. If I have to bring a client over to consult, I've created a space where it's professional. It's not in my lounge.
Yes.
It's going to be a professional space outside of the house, but in the estate. So I'm starting from home. When I grow, then I'll move into another
office space.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you post us demure pictures and we all get illusional and think you're a millionaire, that's fine. That's okay.
The money's going to be the contract. Like one agreement, hey? The cost of one agreement. And you charge for each time the agreement goes back and forth between myself and counterparty. Commercial laws.
So, I'm your client. I'm contracting with you. We'll do the first consultation. I believe it's like that. And then you get to know whatever I need. Maybe I'm contracting with a pharmaceutical company or whatnot. And then we start. So every time I say no, or every time you receive something, I must pay.
It's price, it's pay, and it's tariff.
Is it the same as when I come to see you? You know, when they say it's 800 per 30 minutes, for example. Is it the same?
It is the same, but it is the same, but you can also deviate. So with the UK firm that I worked for, they didn't charge per hour. They charged per agreement.
Sounds expensive.
It is expensive. It sounds cheaper to the client, but because it looks cheaper, it actually brings in more money. Because the thought of charging per hour or someone paying per hour,
it's a lot.
Sounds hectic.
Like it sounds a lot.
Yeah,
like every time I speak to you, I need to be watching a timer.
Yes.
Like, what time is it?
But charging per agreement, you get to relax. Client relaxes a bit. But there's many agreements that come out of a single agreement or from a single transaction. Many agreements,
because now there's the NDA before the real thing. When the real thing comes, you have
then
to
you're negotiating
amend.
that. Exactly. If you're a corporation, every single move you make is underpinned by a contract. You will need me all of the time. You will very rarely consult your commercial attorney and then put them away, because you're always doing something in your business that will need a contract, and I'll always have to look at it.
What is the minimum? Not trying to chase away people from coming to Ipeleng in sync, but where you worked, let's leave you then.
Sure.
They will find out when they come to you.
Yes.
Coming to where you worked, what is the minimum remember when you're working, they give you the transaction the one that you've worked with from beginning to end. What was the minimum for, as you say, per transaction? Per agreement?
Your per agreement was... so depending on the jurisdiction, it was either a couple dollars, a couple euros. With lawyers, we're not great with numbers, so I'm not sure how much we charged per agreement, because we do multiple agreements per day for different transactions for different clients.
And different currency.
In different currencies. And I never had to know how much.
Because
I just knew what I'm getting at the end of the month. I just know what my salary is. But how many contracts I'm sending out and negotiating, and how much, I don't know. I actually don't. And I know the price was available, because everything, I know the price was there, but I never looked, I never retained the amount, how much it actually was. But For me, the most important thing was,
Was
okay,
your
what's my salary?
And then, okay, so judging from your salary, you can tell that the company was making good money.
100%. And if it's an international company employing people in maybe like South Africa, our lawyers here are cheaper. The lawyers in the UK, they're called solicitors. The solicitor there and the solicitor here, me, us doing the same thing, they get paid so much more for the fact that they're a solicitor in the UK. So international companies hiring in a country like South Africa, they're paying us much better than a South African law firm would. I'm still cheap labor to them.
You're still affordable.
I'm still very affordable. I'm far cheaper than hiring a person in my capacity, but in the UK.
Ipeleng, tell me, you've been talking about the law of contract a lot. There's a module in fourth year, company law. Does it also have to do with commercial law?
Company law does have a bit of commercial, but it also has mostly corporate. So with commercial, they usually overlap, corporate and commercial. So company law is something I also loved.
Because me, I saw ladies there, I saw stars. I saw stars. You know, at some point, I'm like, okay, if I can get 50, it's fine. And then I was like, no, I don't want 50. I'm joking. I'll go back and do it. I don't want, because it's like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's.
But
have you seen that book? It looks like it's thicker than a Bible.
They're all thick, man. Yo, which law textbook is which one? They're all fat. They're all fat.
I could not and I cannot with company law. It's just like
they're all fat. But also depending on what you're going to end up doing, you might not, because I also had to do advanced company law when I went to do my master's. So I had 4 modules: advanced contract, advanced company, corporate governance. There was a 4th one, I just can't remember it now. But I never, in the work I've been doing, because our company law is the Companies Act.
Yes.
Majority of my agreements were international, with different jurisdictions, not South African law.
Yes.
So company law fell right out. I didn't use the Companies Act at all, because the UK, Germany, they've got their own
things.
They've got their own company law. Yes, I had to learn the company law of different jurisdictions to apply to the agreements. I actually didn't use much of our company law.
All right. It's very nice speaking to you. You do know how to talk. I wish when you open your office, you're gonna open us a YouTube channel and teach us something.
Anytime.
Please,
my doors are open.
As an entrepreneur, I'm speaking to you as an entrepreneur to say one of the things that most entrepreneurs will always say: don't have one stream of income. Yes. Okay, if you open that, I will be very happy. I'll be here to promote, saying, no, you remember here, go there, because you will learn. I mean, I was never interested in being a silent admitted attorney. I don't want to be silent.
Yes.
Gosh, I think I was born loud.
Yes. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot. Knowledge is power. And this route it's a tough one, honestly. The route is a tough one. So you kind of have to be loud to pave the way for everyone else who's coming through the journey.
So they can know, because I knew, okay, when I opened the podcast, my mentor came here, Advocate Shongi. He's being a commercial attorney.
That's your sponsor?
Yes, he's being a commercial attorney. He's he believes in me a lot. So when I said commercial attorneys coming, he did not even think. He just said, how much do the studio time? He's a very sweet man. He was a commercial attorney. He walked away. Well, he didn't walk away. He went and became a magistrate. Then he was like, oh, okay, now it's done. I'm going... But I'm not going back to commercial. I'm going to be a referral advocate now.
That's amazing.
That's what he's doing. So we never got to sit down. You know, sometimes you need to hear different explanations. We never got to sit down for him to tell me, explain like you did carefully, what is a commercial attorney. Now that you've said it, it sounds so nice, but it sounds nice, you know, something that, oh, if I ever have to change, maybe I can change to this. If I ever have to, like now I want to be at the back seat. I just want to be writing things, wearing glasses and negotiating terms. If that's what I want to do, I want to be quiet. That sounds quiet, you know?
Yeah,
lot of work, but quiet.
Being in front of the judge is not for everyone, hey?
Oh my gosh. I'm sure the judge would grant you each and every motion because you're so sweet.
I don't even know if that's... I can't bring in the sweetness. Is that part of the papers?
Yeah, but you have explained what a commercial attorney is very well. I believe that if anyone would come and they want to learn what is that, this episode with you, they will start with it. When you open your YouTube channel, because you're going to open it to tell us how it goes, what to do, to explain to us how we need 7 degrees to get there, to put ourselves up there, have an advantage.
Just as an advantage.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, of course.
There's many of us.
You explain things very well, and I really appreciate you being here with us today. I just want you to advise us, right? On your camera. Yeah. Right? Advise a candidate attorney. You have mentioned something in everything that you were saying. I could hear that candidate attorneys need a lot of support.
Absolutely.
Because most of the time, the principal, even if they're not a toxic one, they're not sending you to buy things, they're so busy. You would have seen them when they say, welcome to the company.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes.
As a candidate attorney who's going in their first year, they don't know anything. How do you think they can make their lives easier?
So, into the camera.
Yes.
So, starting off as a candidate attorney, first of all, nothing comes easy in our field. It doesn't, even after articles, it doesn't stop being difficult. Nothing stops being difficult. It won't stop being difficult in your first year or your second year, or in your first rotation or your second. So, the first most important thing for me is that don't walk into your articles taking on and expecting the abuse or the toxicity that comes with it that we all know about. You're not just a candidate attorney. You worked very hard to get to where you were. It's difficult to come by articles. So if you are where you are, you've done amazingly. You've earned your spot. Don't take on any abuse. Work hard. In as much as you don't want to take on any abuse, you can't argue against any unfairness if you are a slacking candidate attorney. So work hard, put in your time, be an amazing employee, get along with your colleagues, get along with your boss insofar as is possible, put in the work, speak up for your colleagues, encourage your colleagues, how to get through your rotation, do your research. Safely is your friend, LexisNexis is your friend. Research and read. You can do the case summaries. It gets hectic. Shortcuts are okay, but know your legal principles. But shortcuts are okay. Work smart. Work smart. The work is heavy. The work is a lot. But work hard and put in your work and don't take on any abuse.
Thank you so much. That is so sweet of you. Thank you, guys. I have been sitting with a this lady is very humble. I've been talking to her. She's very humble. She respects people at all levels. She will reply you at 1 with an apology that lasts 5 minutes. I'm sorry for replying right now. 1 a.m. She's busy drafting some contract that time, I'm sure. She will remember you and she's very, very sweet. We hope to see her in the spaces teaching us. She's a good teacher. She does not, if you didn't know, you know it by now. Guys, I will see you in the next episode. But remember, we are still recording here at Sand Studios where we have an aircon, where we have water, where we have beautiful, colorful spring colors, where only Ganda will remove legal podcast. Unless if they say that we are moving somewhere. I love you so much. I'll see you on the next episode. Mwah.